Hello students, I'm going to give you a little bit more depth about what you need to do for the IEP analysis assignment. So I have specific instructions here. You're going to read the sample IEP that's provided to you in the module, and based on the information from the reading in the chapter and PowerPoint and any other valid sources, you want to answer the specific questions about IEPs, like how many members are on the IEP committee, who are those members, are there teachers, principals, administrators, parents, who makes up the IEP committee, why is the IEP important, and what makes the IEP legal, right? And for this specific question, how specific is this document? I want details, like what are at least 3 things that an IEP asks for, okay? So please be thorough with your responses. Okay, in this document there are also several terminologies that you need to be familiar with, and those educationese terms are found in the document below. Here we go, we've got IDEA. So the Individuals with Disabilities Act, what is that? What does it entail? Who's covered through through IDEA? This is one of the most significant pieces of legislation that impacts individuals with special needs today. So you must be familiar with this. An IEP, all right? An ARD meeting, admission, review, and dismissal. What is it? What is it used for? When is it done? How often and how frequently? LRE, least restrictive environment. What does that mean? Okay, everything is described for you. So, universal design for learning, and it is different from universal design, and then response to intervention. So you want to review these terminologies. Okay, make sure you understand what they mean, and then you're going to go into part 3, which is identifying the terms within the IEP. So you're going to look at the sample IEP that is provided in D2L, and then you're going to label or highlight the sentence, section, or phrase that illustrates that term, and then you're going to write a 2 to 3 page sentence justifying how each term is applied through that section. Okay. So an example is, in the IEP sample, you might see the term regular education and special education teachers. Right here, regular education, this describes or illustrates the term least restrictive environment. Because, and so in your 2 to 3 sentences, you would explain that the least restrictive environment is the general education curriculum. It's a regular mainstream classroom for the different subject areas that most or all students are placed in. So for this particular student, Stacy, she will be placed in the regular education classroom, which is also known as the least restrictive environment, so that she can work collaboratively and meet with her peers, and can also see how appropriate and successful academic behavior is conveyed. And so that's what you would be describing in your 2 to 3 sentences. And you need to do these for all of the different terminologies that are shared in this handout. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 different terms. So for each of those 6 terms, you need to find a place on the IEP that illustrates that term, and you should have 2 to 3 sentences or more to describe how each of those terms is demonstrated in that IEP. Okay? I hope that helps clarify what it is you're going to do for the IEP analysis assignment. And this is how you will be assessed. Okay? If you identify at least 5 of the 6 terms correctly, and you give your, description of 2 to 3 or more sentences, you will meet the standards and the objectives for this particular assignment. Okay. Below this assignment, you will see a culturally responsive lesson plan that is for later on in the semester. Okay, for next week, this week you only need to focus on the IEP. If we go into our module, okay, this is the example IEP, and this is the Dropbox where you're going to submit the assignment. If we look at the IEP example, pulling it up, this is Stacy student. Okay, this describes the team members in attendance. It gives you specific details on how Stacy was performing on her exams. Okay, so they give you scores, so you can tell whether she's met or not met standards. Okay, for the different subject matters. Okay, here, how is she performing based on her IEP goals? Okay, so for example, here she had specific goals for her work habits, and it says she did not master the goal, not fully mastering it, so 80% of the time. Okay, so it gives you specifics on performance. These are specific functional needs, the areas that she's weak in. If you move further down, you'll get information about her progress and moving forward. Okay, and then specific factors that need to be considered when working with Stacy. All right, so please look through this. You will also see transition services. So when a student is going to be moving on into high school, they need assistance with transitioning. Okay, and so this is very important to help them adjust into a different grade level. You'll see annual goals, because IEPs have to have an annual goal, and they have to be reviewed at least annually, if not more than one time in the year. Okay, and so the IEP, as you can see, is quite detailed. It's very explicit, and then you've got the annual goal broken down here into very, very specific, explicit objectives, and you can see what is needed for her to have mastered those areas and how those areas are being evaluated. And you can see the different type of assessment tools here. Okay, the authentic assessment tools. So it's not just a test. Okay, we call these authentic assessments because it's a variety of different data tools or best practices to use a variety of different work samples, whether it's graphic organizers or listening to students discuss and writing down information based on your observations. Okay. So you would look through this and you would find areas that match the terminologies and then describe in your paragraph. I hope that helps you and clarifies the assignment. If you have any other questions, do let me know.